Let's get things rolling here from the Florence Barleycorns. It is Labor Day, the holiday weekend. Hope everybody's enjoying the holiday and having a nice Labor Day. It is the Cooper Football Show with Jaguars coach Randy Borchers. I'm Tom Gamble, your host, and hopefully we can both get through it without coughing too much. I know I'm on the tail end of something. You just have whooping cough, I think, or something you've had for multiple years. But it's Battle of Union. It's Cooper Ryle. It's the big week. Friday night, 7:30 kickoff at Cooper High School, and it's part of, you wonder why I'm wearing this sweatshirt. It's warmer outside than a sweatshirt dictates, but the Skyline Chili Crosstown Showdown, I'm the organizer of that event, and this is our first of two Northern Kentucky games that are being featured in the showdown, so I figured even though it's year 27 now, I don't have a new one that says 27, so you wear what you got to wear. So, Cooper Ryle, does it feel any different? I mean, I know you're not in school today. You will be back tomorrow, but anything different, right, than the last 9 times? Not that I'm going to bring that up, mind you. So what's different this week? What feels different?
I think the big thing this year is we're 2 of the top teams in Northern Kentucky.
In the state, for that matter.
So, I was not that I look at a ton of polls and that, but I think we're both in the top 10 or top 12 in the state. So there's a little bit more added to this game. Plus, it's a backyard
is what you're looking for. It's a backyard.
Yeah,
everybody's in their backyard. It's all good.
Yep.
You mentioned it is funny because polls at the high school level are the most useless because you can't. There's no way you can compare. College football is a little more difficult, but you at least have comparatives. You can watch video and highlights of games. You can't do that in high school. I mean, not to the degree. I didn't vote when I was over in Ohio, and they chastised me for not voting in the AP state poll because how was I going to vote? Everybody just voted to kind of support their area. That's not the design of a poll. But you're right. You guys are 2 in 5A behind Bowling Green. Hard to argue with that, defending state champs, right? Ryle's ranked in 6A and deservedly should be after their great start. But both teams 2-0. I think with the exception of when you guys played week 1, this is the first time the game will be played with both teams ranked that it wasn't week 1. So that's kind of cool. I mean, anything, I look at it like this. For Cooper football, for Ryle, for the Battle of Union, for this area, anytime you've got accolades and people paying attention, it's a good thing for the programs, right?
Oh, it's a great thing, and there's so much respect, but also at the same time hatred between the two schools. When you look at the Boone County schools, these are the 2 schools that have consistently been above and beyond where the other schools are and had more success in the last few years. Ryle made the regional finals last year. We were fortunate enough to make the state finals. So both teams are coming off of big years from last year, and we both returned a ton of guys from last year. So, and these kids know each other. I mean, these kids have played football against each other, with each other, not just football but all sports. So, these kids know each other very well, and they're good friends off of the field, but once you get on the field, they definitely want to win.
Well, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about Friday's game because obviously 47-0 second quarter running clock. Probably is taxing, waiting out a delay because of the weather, trying to get from Georgetown over to Henry Clay. But, I mean, those are all factors. How did that play into the game, and were you impressed with the way your guys at least came out and took matters into their own hands?
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things we tell our kids all the time is control what you can control. And, don't let what you can't control you. And our kids did a tremendous job, waiting in the gym for over 3 hours waiting to come out and play, and our kids stayed focused, and we came out, and we really didn't miss a beat. And anytime you have something like that and you throw on an hour and a half travel to get there, you never really know how your kids are going to come out and play. And I think that shows a veteran team that we got and maturity that we have now than what we would have had 2 years ago if we were in that situation.
I know Cam O'Hara, 8 of 9, 3 touchdowns. I mean, you didn't have to throw the ball much, and obviously you got some other guys in the game, which I think that's probably good for as the year goes on, right? I mean, from the standpoint of if you're going to call on some guys to spell players, at least they've got some game experience, right? I mean, that helps.
Absolutely. And I think one of the big things is when you got some of these kids that work their tail end off every day in practice and they really don't get that opportunity to play on Friday night, anytime you can get kids in to get some minutes and be underneath the Friday night lights, it's kind of a reward for those kids, and it's kind of a thank you for all the hard work they put in, every week.
Now, you look at what Ryle's done in 2 weeks. I mean, week one they were tied 14-14 with Covenant Catholic. Then they pull away down the stretch, win it 30-14. Then they go on the road to Hebron, not far, mind you, but first road game, and they handled Connor rather easily after Connor put up a big win over Paul Dunbar week one. So you mentioned Ryle's got 17 starters back. I mean, this was a good football team a year ago, and they're good again. What worries you the most about this Ryle team? And if it's me again, they look awful good on both sides up front, offensive and defensive lines.
Yeah, and that's, over the years, in the last 2 or 3 years, that's kind of been the difference between us and them was they've won the line of scrimmage. So that's obviously going to be another big issue for us this year, or at least a concern going into the game. But, they're sound on both sides of the ball. They got some really good football players. They're well coached, and they do a lot of things good. And when you really look at it, the thing that they've been able to do over the last 3 to 4 years that we haven't been able to do is make the big play when they needed to.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because let's go to last year's game. I think nothing could be more indicative of what you just said. You're winning 10-7 at Ryle heading into the fourth quarter. Next thing you know, 3 turnovers, 21 points from Ryle. Ryle wins 28-10. Twice inside the 5, once at the 1, you have the football, didn't score. I remember distinctly back in 2021, you lost 14-7. You had so many opportunities early in that game to just really take control and put it away, and weren't able to do that. Then, of course, in 2022, you lose 13-10. So even though last year's final was 18 points, it was a 3-point game, 13-10 in 2022 and 14-7 in 2021. That's the difference. They've made plays, you haven't.
Yeah, and that's kind of been our Achilles heel against them, and that's one thing that we've been preaching, today and over the weekend is we just got to play our game. And I think sometimes, it's tough because as a head coach, this is a huge game, but there's so much more that we want besides this game. So, you want to hype it up. You really don't have to hype it up too much because the kids already know how important it is. But win or lose, you got to be able to respond and get these kids back into what the ultimate goal is. So, you want to hype it up at the same time. You don't want to make this be the be-all game because if you win, you can have a letdown. If you lose, you can have a letdown. So, as a coach or as a coaching staff, it's very difficult to find what that happy medium is and how you approach this game.
Couple quick notes again. Friday night, 7:30 kickoff. The Battle of Union. Cooper hosting Ryle. Don't forget the Friday football late-night menu after 11 here, and you can bank it will be a good crowd here at the Florence Barleycorn. So they have a limited menu after 11 p.m., which is when they serve their normal menu up until. So big crowd expected. It's the Skyline Chili Crosstown Showdown. We'll be out tomorrow doing a bunch of social media at X-Town Showdown on X. We have a bunch of riveting interviews with people like yourself. And myself and Brady Labor will do some stuff. But let me ask you about a couple Ryle guys. Dylan Smith, all-state selection for Ryle. And Jake Savage. I mean, this guy, 13 tackles he averaged a game last year. I mean, that number is insane. Those are just 2 guys that just stand out for Ryle.
Yeah, and to be very honest with you, one of the biggest difference last year in that ball game is we had a very difficult time blocking Dylan. And we had to change up what we were doing offensively a little bit and bring one of our best receivers in at tight end to help block him. So it took one of our best receivers out of our passing game. So, that ultimately hurt us. And so we know we have to find him on the field every play, and we're going to have to, pay a little closer attention to him. Savage is just a ball player. I mean, he's that old school player that every football coach wants to have.
Yeah, that's a good way. He is. You're right.
He reminds me a lot of the Jack Lineker that we had. Just hard-nosed. He's going to be around the ball on every play. He hits you. If he's there, he's going to hit you, and our kids are going to know they've been hit. So, I really like watching him play. I respect that kid a lot just by the way he plays. And now they got him at running back, and he's tough to bring down. So, hopefully we can wear him out a little bit, and he's not as good in the fourth quarter as he is in the first quarter this week.
And Logan Virax was their quarterback last year. He had over 250 all-purpose yards, 3 TDs in the game. His younger brother Nathan now takes over. And, you mentioned you've been obviously the only football coach in Cooper history. Mike Engler's done a really good job, and he's about to pass Bryson Warner and become the winningest coach in Ryle history. And, he came up from Lexington Catholic, and, they play a brutal schedule. I mean, they play a lot of teams. You guys, which you have to play, I guess. It's a battle unit, but they play Highlands. They play Covcat, Louisville St. X, Collegiate Academy from Louisville. I mean, those are some good opponents, and that's why they're pretty well tested when they get in the 6A postseason. But you guys, you mentioned it, have been a model of consistency, really, and Ryle every year in and year out, is a really solid football program.
They are, and as I mentioned, they're just really well coached. One thing Ryle has year in and year out are big, physical offensive linemen. And, I always look over there and say, man, how come we don't get any of those kids? But, I think they average most probably somewhere around 260, 270 on the offensive line. Defensively, they're not as big, but, they're quick, and those kids get after it. And they're going to get 8, 9 guys to the ball. So they do a great job over there with their coaching staff, and they're going to have those kids prepared. And we're going to have play a really, really good football game to have a chance to win this year. Now,
let me ask you about kind of the mindset. And I know players, and you can, coaches have different formulas. We're not going to talk about what's happened in the past, but as a kid, young men are much more savvy today. Information is more readily available. So, you've lost 9 in a row to Ryle. I mean, you don't have to tell them that. But the question I have is, if something goes south early in the game, second quarter, whatever, how do you prevent the mindset of, here we go again? Isn't that – because you have the talent to beat Ryle. Ryle probably feels like they have the talent to beat Cooper. So these are 2 good football teams. How do you, from a mental standpoint, avoid thinking about that and should something go wrong, falling into that trap?
Yeah, we can preach all we want, but it really comes down to the kids on the field and our leaders stepping up and forcing, just letting the kids know, hey, it's all right, let's just play the next play. And that's kind of been our motto all year. Just let's play the next play, let's play the next game, and not worry about something that's happened in the past. So, we can preach it all we want, but as you can, we talked earlier, over the last 6 to 7 years, that's been an area that we haven't really handled very well against them. So it's obviously something we're going to talk about. We're not going to hide from it. Our kids know, and, went back and watched the film, this weekend of our game last year, and we shot ourselves in the foot. We had a bunch of opportunities to win that football game, and we didn't. And we got to find a way this year to capitalize on it. And I think our kids are aware of that. And, I think they're up for the challenge.
Couple quick programming notes as well. It's obviously Labor Day today. Next Monday, it'll be another Dine to Donate from 5 to 11. 10% goes back to Cooper from the fine folks here at Barleycorn. And it's opening a Monday Night Football, the Jets are going to be good, and they won't be again as they take on the 49ers on Monday Night Football. So we'll have that right after the show. Again, Friday night, 7:30 kickoff. Now, we thought it'd be kind of interesting. Our next 2 guests we'll welcome up here. One is a former Cooper quarterback, now your quarterback's coach, Billy Pricket, and he's our audio guy. He'll join me. And a guy who had no recourse but to be a coach for Cooper because his name is Cooper, but he played at Ryle. So we'll get a perspective from a former Cooper player and a former Ryle player. Welcome up Cooper Scherr. We'll do that after a brief timeout here from the Florence Barleycorns. It's the Cooper Football Show with Jaguars coach Randy Borchers. All right, welcome back to the Florence Barleycorns. It is the Cooper Football Show with Jaguars head coach Randy Borchers and others, as we're about to find out this segment. So, what a better way to get a preview of the Battle of Union, Cooper versus Ryle, than to talk to guys who played for Cooper and Ryle. Now, they're both on the Cooper side now. So we'll find out about that. I'm joined by Cooper Scherr, who played for Ryle and is now in his 5th season as the Cooper defensive backs coach and is doing a fine job there. And this is Billy Pricket, who played quarterback. He's our audio guy, works for iHeart Audio, Radio, Media, whatever you want to call it. Did you go to the fireworks?
I did not.
You did not, but you probably could have, right?
Yeah, for
sure.
sure.
Okay, all right. And wife Katie this is her debut, at least here.
Yeah, she's
right?
holding it down. Hopefully she's learned a little something over the years.
Yes, and you know what? If something goes wrong, you just blame him for setting it all up.
Yep.
That's how this works. Cooper, welcome. Let's go back to your days playing at Ryle. What was this game against Cooper like back then? And I say back then, it wasn't that long ago for you, but what was it like for you as a player for Ryle getting ready to face Cooper?
I mean, we always knew it was a big rivalry, you know. So, honestly, hard to remember.
Well, come on, you're not that old, man. I mean, it can't be going already. I mean, right?
Yeah.
But did it matter? I mean, so obviously, as Ryle, you have other opponents that are considered quote-unquote rivalries, but, I mean, you're only a couple miles apart. I mean, was this the game, if you will, that you guys wanted to win every year? I mean, you want to win every game, but if there was one you had to win, was it this one?
When I was in high school, probably not. I think we looked at, like, a Cupcath, or my senior year, Simon Kenton was really good. My senior year, we were, I think, 1 and 2 in the state at one point. So, looked to that a lot. But I actually grew up with a lot of the guys that were on Cooper's team. So guys like Dante Hendricks and even Lonicker's older brother, Jared, and some of those guys. So, like, I grew up with a lot of those guys, and so we were friends. And so there wasn't much, like, bad blood between us.
So you're going with the playing nice theory here, right?
Yeah, at least when I was in high school. So I think that has gone away more so.
Boy, when you want to pick a guy to sell the series of Cooper Ryle, pick this guy, right? I mean, what is this? We can have a big hug at midfield on Friday night? I mean, come on.
Coop's very laid back like that.
I get it. Well, he's a navigator, right? He's promoting optimism and goodwill, correct?
Sure. Yeah,
I want somebody who's going to talk nasty about this rivalry.
Bring it.
Now let's go to Billy Pricket here. So, but seriously, was it different? Obviously, Ryle was the more established school and program. Cooper was, in essence, the newbie. Did it mean more, you think, to Cooper when you played than Ryle?
Yeah, you know, you try to treat it like a normal game, but it's impossible to not to do that, right? Because you grew up with these kids, you played with them, you played against them, and you want to have that pride to be able to say that we were the best team in the county, right? My senior year, I remember we had our goals sort of printed on our lockers. And, you know, a county championship isn't a real thing. There's not a trophy that comes with it or anything, but there's the pride of being the county champs, of, you know, being the best team in Boone County, beating Boone, beating Connor, and beating Ryle, right? So that was our first goal that season, was to sweep the county. And, you know, you have to take a lot of pride in it. You want to do that for your community, for your fans, for your students, your peers when you're in school, to be able to have those bragging rights in that rivalry. And unfortunately, it hasn't gone our way as of late. So we really want to kind of, you know, flip that narrative this year and take back the rivalry, something that, again, I took a lot of pride in when I was in high school.
Well, we mentioned these guys each went 2-1 against the other school. Cooper, when he was at Ryle, 2-1 against the Jaguars, and Billy, 2-1 when he was at Cooper against the Raiders. Cooper, you talk about the success of this Ryle program in this series. Is there anything that, when you think, if you can remember that far back when you played, what do you think it is about Ryle? Because they've been a model of consistency, and when you win 9 straight in a competitive series, I mean, it's not like Cooper has had bad football teams. What do you think it's been about Ryle that's enabled them to be so successful in this particular game, in this series?
Yeah, I think that over the years, Ryle has always come out with a mindset of, like, they're going to win this football game. They come out ready to go, and not that we don't, but I think that has been coming out a little too timid, I think, at points. And so I think, you know, I don't know.
Well, is it mental? I mean, do you think for Coop now, you've seen Cooper prepare now for this game since you've been a coach. I mean, do you find that is one of the things for this year that you have to – the kids have to convince themselves we can beat Ryle because it simply hasn't happened. Is that as much – there's talent on this Cooper football team. How much of it becomes mental versus just being able to make the plays?
Right. Yeah, I think that, there's been so much of this just older brother, little brother, look about the rivalry, and I think, that's starting to switch a little bit. And so I think, there comes a point where that little brother starts to beat up on that older brother. And so I think it's only, I think the kids are ready for it. So.
And you, Billy, have played for Cooper in this game. And obviously you mentioned big brother, little brother. I mean, Randall K. Cooper High School is named after the former Ryle principals. So, I mean, there is that. What do you sense from this year's team after seeing what happened last year? 28-10 the final, but up 10-7. All of a sudden, 3 turnovers, 21 points. It looks lopsided, but it's really not. How much for you as a coach this year is mental convincing this Cooper team, hey, stop thinking about what's happened in the past. We can beat these guys.
Yeah, I think our kids always have a good attitude coming into every week. Obviously, I wasn't around last year. I just got on the staff this year, so I'm not sure how it looked in years past. But from what I saw, especially in practice today, I thought we had a really good, locked-in practice. The kids are excited about this game. I think that they really want to flip the script on this rivalry, and they know what they have to do to be able to accomplish that. Now, when the lights come on Friday night, that might be a different story, right? That's what we got to do as coaches is keep them grounded, keep them, in the game plan and do our thing. And I think if we do that, we have a pretty good shot to win the football game. But, I relate this rivalry a lot to, like, how Kentucky and Louisville is right now in football, where Kentucky's just had their number lately. I say that as a Louisville fan, right? And there's just been sort of like that big brother, little brother mentality, right, where the little brother is a little timid when they walk out and they're in front of the lights under the big brother. So I'm hoping that this year there's a mindset change and that we can go in and execute and do our thing.
Well, you mentioned Louisville, Kentucky. There's no way really Kentucky should have beat Louisville last year. I mean, with the way they were going down the stretch of the season. So let me ask you a question. So you're on the sidelines. Your offense makes a mistake. You have a turnover. How important is it for you to convince forget about that, move on, play, make the next play, and just we don't get caught up in what's happened in the past?
Yeah, next play mentality is huge in football, especially at the position that I coach at quarterback. And I think our quarterback Cam O'Hara does a pretty good job of if he has a rough play, he'll leave it behind him and go out there for the next play and execute for us. But they have to have that mentality, right? No matter what happened in the past, no matter what happened last play, last series, last quarter, we have to come in with the mentality that we have a chance to win the football game. And if we do that, then I feel like we will be in it at the end and with a good chance to win the game.
Is it weird? I know you've been at Cooper now 5 years, but is it strange when on this – when you look across the field on Friday night and you used to wear that uniform, is that odd in any way? Or are you far enough? I think you're like 35 years removed from when you graduated, but I mean, does that feel odd?
Not really. It's like since I graduated high school, I kind of look at that as, my time as a player, right? And so my time as a player and my time as a coach, pretty separate. And so, I loved my time as, a player, and that was great. But I wouldn't say, like, I look back and, miss anything or, wish I was back over there or anything like that. It just... I think maybe at first, my first year's coaching, there was points when we would go to Ryle and play, and you'd get like weird looks from coaches or whatever.
Yeah, that's
but
understandable. Sure.
Yeah, makes sense. So
well, let me ask each of you guys about what you're doing professionally now. You work for Navigator. You're a leader, which used formerly Young Life, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So how's that going for you? And that's right here in Northern Kentucky, correct?
Yes. Yeah. It's awesome. It's great. It's part of the reason I became a coach at Cooper, and has been an awesome way to get connected with the guys on the football team and build relationships with kids, and it's been really sweet. So
I know my youngest son Nathan has enjoyed his time. So keep working with him for me, please. Yeah, no, Nathan's a good guy. And you for iHeart is it media, radio? Which one do you prefer?
Officially media, but
media,
it's,
okay.
yeah.
And you program country music throughout the United States, right?
Yeah, I mean, to put it in a nutshell, I guess you could say that. My official title is on the national programming team as a music curator. So,
okay.
I could go into all the details of it, but it would just bore people. But, yeah, a lot of the music you hear on iHeart Country stations is coming from, my little basement office that I got right now.
And if we don't like that, we can reach out to you and say, stop playing this and some more of that. Is that right? I mean,
yeah, sure.
Okay, not that you're going to do that, mind you, right?
No,
okay.
Of course.
Well, guys, it should be a fun Friday night. If nothing, I think the crowd is going to be
unbelievable.
Massive. I mean, it's going to be a great time, and I'm sure the Barleycorns afterward will be equally as filled. So I appreciate you guys sharing a little perspective, and we're going to talk to a couple guys next. We're going to play Jaidan Combs and Malachi Ewell, a couple receivers who would probably be number one receivers, right, on most teams in Northern Kentucky, but we'll get their thoughts on how things are looking this week and the season so far. So, Billy, Cooper, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll see you Friday night, man.
Thanks, Tom. Go Jaguars.
All right, Billy Pricket and Cooper Scherr, two members of the Cooper High School football coaching staff, and they both played in the game. All right, it's the Cooper Football Show with Jaguars coach Randy Borchers and others, and a couple others, when we continue right here from the Florence Barleycorns. All right, welcome back to the Florence Barleycorns. It's the Cooper Football Show as we get ready for the Battle of Union on Friday night, 7:30 kickoff at Cooper High School. The Jaguars hosting Ryle. Both teams off to 2-0 starts. Both teams ranked in the state. First time that's ever happened when they've played in this. It's part of the Skyline Chili Crosstown Showdown. That's why I'm the billboard for the event here tonight. It's my event, so I figure I can do whatever the hell I want. So there you go. All right. It's time to welcome a couple guys who will be out on the field trying to snap the losing skid against Ryle for Cooper. It's receiver Jaidan Combs and Malachi Ewell. Both are receivers. And I want to ask both you guys, first of all, you have to believe that the talent you guys each have, and I'll start with you, that you could be a number one receiver on a lot of teams. Are you okay being part of the mix and knowing there's so many talented guys that can go out and make plays for this offense? Does that bother you? You just happy being part of it?
Happy being a part of it because it's just a good group and like we're all very close and no team's gonna have enough people to guard one of us. One of us are gonna have a good night and the next game another person's gonna have a good night. So it's not enough firepower that other teams have to guard us.
You feel that same way? I mean, is it kind of one of those where probably on a given night, if they're taking away in Austin, if they're taking away in Isaiah, that you guys are going to get the opportunity? Is that kind of how you feel too?
Yeah. If there's no way a team can guard all four of us. I mean, there's no way. So one of us is always gonna win our matchup for sure. At least one of us every game.
You guys had a great year last year. Naturally, went to the state final. But let's talk about Ryle. So this was a game that when you look back at one, I mean, the Highlands game was crazy during the regular season, but let's be honest, you guys kind of hung in there late, made it 58-51, but they were seemingly in control of that game, whereas you guys led the Ryle game 10-7 going into the fourth quarter. You look up, all of a sudden it's 28-10. Was that one of those where when you think back to that game, was that the most frustrating game of the year?
Yeah, well, I actually didn't really play in the last Ryle game in the regular season last year. I wasn't here yet, but I heard talking to the guys. It was just like they had it and they just like they lost that game themselves. Like they could have came away with it and they just shot themselves in the foot. But
so I'll get back to you because this is game one for you against Ryle, right? So you were there last year. So how frustrating?
I mean, we should have had that game put away for sure. We beat ourselves that game multiple ways. So, I mean, this year we just got to stay composed and don't make any dumb mistakes, and we should be good.
So what do the teammates say about the Ryle game, about the rivalry, about the series that you've heard? I mean, it's obviously gone Ryle's way. But how would you describe the mentality of your teammates and the Cooper football team this year getting ready for this game?
It's just everyone's ready. Like they're talking like it's gonna be one of the most hype games of the whole year for us in NKY, and they're just like coming into practice today. It was like a different I felt like it was a different mentality. Like everyone was a little bit more focused and everyone's ready to play. They've been talking like, I'm ready to play. It's gonna be fun.
For you, I mean, is it? I mean, this is what you play high school football for, right? I mean, these are the kind of games, and I know, especially after the last 2 games. I mean, you're all of a sudden you got to flip a switch, right? Because you had 2 dominant performances against 2 teams that you were better than, and now all of a sudden you're going up against a team that's probably equally in terms of talent and stuff. How exciting is that? Getting ready for that this week.
It's super exciting. There's everybody on the team. There's nobody who has beat Ryle on varsity football level. So I mean, obviously we wanna make sure we get them, but we're treating it like any other game. Just gonna come out there, play.
Come
our
on
game.
now, don't give me
Yeah.
that. Don't give me that treating it like any other game. That's nonsense, right? Come on. I mean, so if you're a guy, do you think somebody's gonna stand up who's maybe played, since they were a freshman? Is somebody going to get up in front of the team and say, it ends here, like, no more? If there's somebody like that who's going to stand up and make a speech like that, who would it be?
I feel like Austin's a really good guy at getting us all locked in. He's if we're not locked in, he's going to make sure that we get locked in as a unit.
And, I mean, if you're Austin Alexander, I mean, you've started since you were a freshman. I mean, you can't – I mean, obviously he's going to go on and play football at the college level, but you don't want to leave Cooper knowing you've never defeated Ryle, right? I mean, so do you expect him to be kind of an impassioned speaker as the week goes on at some point?
Yeah, he's just going to – he always has great game speeches. Like, before the game, he gets us ready before we go out, and I think he's gonna really show. His passion just gets everybody going, and especially this week, it's gonna be crazy.
So let me ask each of you guys. Malachi, I'll start with you. For Cooper to win Friday, what do you have to do as a team, really on both sides of the ball? What do you think, looking back at last year when you were a part of that game, what has to happen for Cooper to beat Ryle?
On the offense side of the ball, I think our O-line's gonna have to give us some time, get the ball out to our playmakers, and we're going to definitely need to establish a run game. We're going to need to be able to run and pass the ball on them. And on the defensive side, I mean, just no silly mistakes. Don't let them get like a 70-yard touchdown or something like that.
Well, you mentioned running the football. Cooper only had 35 yards rushing against Ryle last year. So, I know you're winning 10-7, but you obviously need more of a sustained run game to really kind of control the football. What about for you? Now, you weren't there last year, my mistake, but you're there now. You've seen this team. Obviously, you went with them to the state championship game last year. What does Cooper need to do Friday night to beat Ryle?
We gotta be smart, not beat ourselves. We just gotta stay in front of the chains offensively. They got a good defense, and we just gotta do what we do. And then on the defensive side, we have a great defense, and we just gotta let them not make no big plays, and we'll be fine.
Let me ask each of you guys, so is there a football player that you try to play like? Do you have a favorite football player, somebody you like to emulate as a player?
I mean, not really. There's like a lot of receivers I like, but I mean.
Who are some of the ones that you think, that you.
Honestly, I don't really know. I feel like I'm like a very shifty receiver, so I mean. A lot of receivers.
Tyreek Hill? I mean, he's shifty, right?
He's more fast.
You're right. He's fast.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. I'm not sure, like, exact.
Favorite team? Favorite football team?
The Bengals. Bengals, yeah.
All right, Bengals. How about you? Receivers or anybody?
I have a lot of favorite receivers, but I would say I like Debo Samuel's game a lot. He can just do everything. You can put him on a jet sweep. He's gonna get you a bunch of yards, and then he's gonna get a bunch of yards after the catch too. He's just like. He's a weapon in like every single phase of the game, and that's what I like that.
Favorite team for you?
Bengals still.
Okay. All right. So now let me ask you a final question, each of you. Cam O'Hara, obviously a very talented quarterback. For you, how much have you seen his growth and development from when you first saw him to where he is today?
In his freshman year when he came in, I knew he was good. It was just more of the confidence. He didn't have as much confidence. But, I mean, he got confidence now. He's got better arm strength. I think he's the best quarterback in all of Kentucky, honestly, yeah.
And I know you haven't been there for his entire – he started since he was a freshman, but just from when you started playing to where he is today, what would you say is the difference in Cam O'Hara?
He's obviously a great quarterback, but he's also like, especially this year, so far he's been seeing the field great. He's getting everyone he's just been seeing the field really good, and he's gonna put the ball where you're gonna be at right when you make your cut, and good ball placement.
All right, well, Jaidan Combs, Malachi Ewell, appreciate you spending a little time with us tonight. Cooper just keeps sending up impressive guys to talk. So good luck to you guys on Friday night in the Battle of Union. Thanks. Appreciate it, guys. All right, we'll be back with some final comments from Coach Randy Borchers when we continue with the Cooper Football Show right here from the Florence. Welcome back to Florence Barleycorns. It's the Cooper Football Show with Jaguars coach Randy Borchers and others. And we appreciate Billy Pricket, Cooper Scherr, Jaidan Combs, and Malachi Ewell for being our guests this evening. So let's go some final talk of Cooper Ryle, 7:30 kickoff. And you got to feel like if the Bardstown crowd, which, I mean, probably brought a carload, right? Can you imagine what it's going to be like Friday night? I mean, that place is going to be nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, and even Friday night, we probably tripled to 4 times the number of fans that Henry Clay had. So, and I said this, I think every week we've been here, we just have a fantastic following. Our guys really, they deck out, they show up, they support us. And, I've told our kids this week, last year when we played Highlands in the playoff, that was a greatest atmosphere that I've ever been in as far as a player or a coach, and I really feel like this week is going to match, if not supersede, what we had last year in the playoffs against Highlands.
Well, we picked the games for the Skyline Chili Crosstown Showdown. It's 27 years for the event. It used to be at Nippert Stadium. It was week 1 and sometimes week 2, and then when the NCAA, you can pay hundreds of thousands of dollars now to players, but you can't play at a BCS campus, which is ludicrous, but it's for another day, and a different type of beverage than water. But we now pick a game every Friday night, and we started with Moeller Princeton, which was the renewal of the classic, Greater Cincinnati, Southwest Ohio. Last week, East Central Harrison, and Harrison snapped. That's a battle of I-74, so Harrison beat East Central, snapped their 22-game winning streak. This is exactly the kind of game that the Crosstown Showdown was founded on. So we've got this one. We'll later have Beechwood at Covcath. Those are our 2 Northern Kentucky games. We've got Elder St. X, Anderson, Winton Woods. I mean, these are the type of rivalry games that high school football in this region has, quite frankly, been founded on. You got to feel like this is one of the best rivalry games. There's Covcath Highlands, which was last week. But this has to be up there. This has to rank up there.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things when you look at it is it's one of the newer rivalries when you look in Northern Kentucky. You look at the Covcath Highlands, that rivalry goes from years back. Beechwood, Covcath, you look at us, we're going on year 17. So when you really look at Northern Kentucky football, this is a rivalry that's really a new rivalry that's really have been picking up steam the last few years.
Now, you know what they say about a rivalry, don't you?
You got to win.
Well, it's like remember it's like Kentucky, Tennessee, right? So, I mean, and you have to feel like, and I mean, you're obviously never overconfident. I know you well enough to know you go into every game. They're a really good team, 17 returning starters. They're not overconfident, well coached, good players. But you also have to have a believability that you can win, right? And what will be your message each day this week leading up to the game and pregame on Friday night to this Cooper football team about playing Ryle?
I think the big thing is these kids have to have fun. You don't experience a game like this very often. And for these kids to be able to go out, play in this type of environment, play against kids that they've known their entire life, and for so much to be on this game. And when, what we talked to our kids about today, and we made a big point of this is a big RPI game for us.
Sure.
In years past.
Yeah, because the first 2 weeks aren't going to help you, right?
They're not going to help you. And Ryle's really good, so they're going to win quite a few games. They're a 6A school, so if we can knock them off this week, that's really going to help us, catapult into the playoffs and help our RPI, which, in the grand scheme of it, that's more important than any type of rivalry or bragging rights, positioning yourself to put yourself in a good position for the playoffs, and that's really the ultimate position that our kids have to really, look at this week is that this game goes a lot more than just the bragging rights for us.
Anything in closing that people – so let's go over Barleycorn's Friday night. Don't forget, they have the Friday football late-night menu after 11. So when you go to the game, you're looking for somewhere to go. You don't have to look any farther than right here. The Florence Barleycorns will be – and it'll be a festive atmosphere, a good crowd, obviously. 7:30. What time will gates open on Friday night?
Gates open up at 6, and I would recommend getting there early. Big thing is go to gofan.co and get your tickets online. We'll get you through the pass gate or get you through the gate a lot quicker if you buy your tickets in advance.
Yeah, so don't wait is the message for, and it should be a great atmosphere, a great crowd, and it should be a great football game. It's Cooper, it's Ryle, it's the Battle of Union. Cooper looking to get off the schneid, if you will, in the series and defeat Ryle. So we hope that for Cooper fans, we hope that occurs on Friday night. So we look forward to seeing everybody out there. We'll be back here, a reminder, next Monday night, same time. Hey, that's not bad. Only one cough. 6:45, leading into Monday Night Football next week.
One question, Tom.
Yeah.
You going to wear a Showdown shirt or you going to wear a Cooper shirt Friday?
Showdown.
Disappointed.
Well, let me tell you why. Who pays my bills?
Man, you're making big bucks doing this show every week.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you what, this water was pretty costly for you tonight. Yeah. No, it's all good.
This lemon.
Honestly, though, this show's a lot of fun. It really is. And hopefully people enjoy it, and we'll continue to bring special guests up. Don't forget Lance McAllister, who hosts Sports Talk on 700 WLW. He'll join us on the 16th. We'll have some other special guests. And if Beckett could just get his damn notes right, so that the host doesn't feel out of place, he's probably going to be up all night, text me in the morning. It's good, but no, I appreciate Shane Beckett, who does a great job giving me some notes and some things that I otherwise wouldn't know and some things that I don't know. So it's all good. And
yeah, like Jaidan wasn't with us last year at
much
this
appreciated,
time.
Sure.
So,
it's all good.
He played that great. You did a great job on it.
Well, I like Jaidan. He just called me right out. That's what he should have done. He's like, I don't know. I wasn't there.
He should have said, hey, that's the reason we lost is because I wasn't there.
Well, and here's the other thing. When you're a guest, please give an opinion. That's for the future.
Absolutely.
Just give an opinion. But I appreciate Brooke, Brandy, Sandy, everybody here, the entire staff, and everybody, all the Cooper faithful for coming out, not just tonight, but every Monday. So have a great week, and we'll see you Friday night. This has been the Cooper Football Show right here from the Florence.